Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel again today where I share great ideas. The last video that I posted was making these sanding mandrels for the wood lathe, sanding bowls, etc., whatever you want to do. And it works very well if you go back and look at that video, but what I've used here is a screwdriver tip for impact driver and a piece of wood, and I glued a piece of kneeling foam onto that, leaving a little space here with a filleted joint. You can see how I did that in that previous video there, step by step. But I want to do another video, and I mentioned this before, is make one similar to this where we don't have that big piece of wood on there, and you can have two thicknesses of foam there, one stiffer and one softer. A lot of combinations you can make there, so that's what I want to do today. You can use the foam here is that foam for that you walk on for play areas, etc. I've used it in the shop here just so it's nice and soft on the concrete. But there's that type of foam, and which is this. You know, this is just happened to be a red piece, and of course the kneeling foam. Now I'm going to try this one that I do today just with one coat of one piece of the kneeling foam. I had planned on sandwiching them together like that, but thought it might be a little bit too thick. But you can do any combination of things that you want. Now to do this here, I went and picked up a bunch of parts here, and it come to about $4 for a half a dozen here, and I had paid 37 Canadian for this one, but so I can make up a half a dozen for less than $5. So what you need is a carriage bolt. Just the carriage bolt. These are 1.5 inches. You get a fender washer. You get them from an automotive parts store. And then I'm using a 5/16 washer, a 1/4 inch washer, and a nut. And that's all the stuff that you need there. So I'll show you how I'm going to do that. So the first thing you do is you take your fender washer and your carriage bolt, and I've done this a number of ways. This is actually what you're looking for when we're done here. We're going to fasten that together and grind this surface off so it's a lot flatter. So to do that, I'm going to try this. Some of those other... Okay, now what we have to do is attach the bolt to the fender washer. Now the fender washer, 1/4 inch, has a round hole in it, but the carriage bolt has a square area there. And I had thought about filing the fender washer out to square, but there's a much simpler way to do it. Now I've tried various methods here trying to get something that worked easily and simply for you. And I think I come up with this one here. I tested it out here, and it puts it in there, keeps the fender washer flat, so we'll try with that method. So what you do is you take a nut, a 5/16 nut, which will slip over top of the 1/4 inch bolt that we're going to use, and then put that on a hole in a big piece of wood, and then take a hammer and give her a good bang. Just tap it down till it's held securely and it's up flat against there. Now, after that, you're going to put a 5/16 washer on there, because that will be bigger than that little squared area there. And then a 1/4" washer, and then a nut. And we'll tighten that down solid, and it'll work just fine. So what I'm doing here is using nylock here, and I just can't spin it down there with my fingers, so I'll have to take that to the vise and tighten that up really securely, and then I'll come back and show you what we're going to do next. Okay, we have it assembled now with nut, 1/4" washer, and a 5/16 washer, and that will clear that little square area of the carriage bolt. And now we end up with a dome top. And before you put your foam on, that needs to be ground down so it comes more flat-like, and then when we grind it, we roughen this surface up to there. So that's kind of the next step to do. And to do that, you just take a drill and then spin it on the grinder until you get this, quite a bit of that ground off, and it's nice, and you got this all roughed up. And since the grinder makes a lot of noise, and so I'll show you one that I've done. See, okay, here's one here that's done. It's all roughed up, and it's fairly flat there. And I think it'll hold it up there. Thing you could do, which I did on the first one that I made. Here's the first one that I made. I used what they call a connecting nut, and that covered the whole thing. But the disadvantage of that was it doesn't fit into a 1/4" drill chuck, so I had to take and file some off. So you could do that too if you wanted to experiment with that with one of these, and just file the edges off, 3 of the edges there, for a 1/4" drill chuck if you have a drill. Of course, if you had a 3/8, there'd be no problem. So I'm just gonna, I think this will work good, just using the 1/4" bolt with the nut down here and nylock down there, and that does it, holds it up good. So yeah, so we've got some ready to glue up here, and I've got the foam. Foam, all it has to do is be sanded off, so the waffle pattern's sanded off, and we'll just cement it on there. So I'll go get my glue, and if you watched the first session, you know that we used goop, and there's a little trick that you need to know to put that on. So I'll get that ready to go now. Okay, I've cut out a piece of the foam, and you always make it bigger than what you want. I've got about 1/8 of an inch bigger than what it's going to end up to be. That way, if when you're gluing on it slips a little bit to one side or whatever, you'll still have a good product in the end. So I've sanded it off and roughed it up there, so it's ready for glue. So we're going to use goop or shoe glue or whatever you have there. They seem to work very well. We've got this all ground off and that. So put a liberal amount of goop on there. And then you pop it down there in the center, squeeze it down. Maybe move it around a little bit back and forth there. Make sure you take it off and have a look. Make sure it's well gooped up there. We want it to squeeze out around the sides. And then when we're done, we're going to put a little bit more so it's built up over the top, and that'll provide extra grip there. So as you use it, and you're compressing the foam and it's curving around things, it'll actually hold it onto that washer much stronger than just what's underneath. So again, this time I'm using a clamp, so I have this pointing down, and we'll just stick that on there. There's probably better ways to do that than this, but and squeeze it down. Check to make sure it's all up. A nice amount is squeezed out around the outside. And you can do this now or actually later, and I almost advise you could do it now and later, because overnight when this dries or however it cures, it'll shrink. And if you put some extra on the top there, I'm just using a nail here so I don't goop around my fingers, I think it'll do a good job of holding it on. With the wood, we put a little fillet so it came up around the top there, and this one we'll just make sure it goes out and comes over top the washer. This is just being a little extra cautious to make sure it's glued onto there and will hold under stress. But you could try it both ways, or with it or without. I know I've used them on the wood ones there without that extra fillet on there for ages, and it hasn't come off. The only time I've knocked them off is when I'm trying to do some live edge where part's sticking out and it smacks it on the side. But just for general sanding, they've worked, quite well. And considering the cost, if they come off, it doesn't really matter, or just glue it back on. Anyway, we'll let that set up overnight, and then we'll show you how to cut the foam round. Well, here it is the next day, and I've got them ready to take the edges off here, which we'll do in a few minutes here. I've added the extra goop around the edge of that washer there and spread out onto the thing there. It's all nice and solid and gripped on there very good. I think it's just about going to be as good as the bought ones. And I ended up with 4 of them here, figuring out an easy way that you could do the tap that bolt into that fender washer. But if you had any difficulty, just take a little file and file it a little bit square there, and it'll work just as good too there. So ready to do that, and then we'll be the last part here. We'll just put the velcro on. To round that out, yeah, I guess you could cut it on the bandsaw and sand and various things to get it done, but there's a faster way to do it. And what you need is a disc, the size of the disc that you want to use. The most common, of course, like I said, is 2 inches. And I've got this little toy wheel here that measures 2 inches, so I'm just going to use it. It's nicely made. And then all you do is mount the wheel in the lathe in a Jacob's chuck, and bring your wheel up nice and tight against that. And then the secret cutter is just your skew chisel upside down. So we'll just cut that off. Now we want to cut this on a taper, but not right to the washer there. We want to leave that glue that we put on there. Use it upside down. And that's all there is to it. And that's why you cut it bigger than what you want. And And there we go, nice and round, and I left space in here. So anyway, let's do that again. That was so much fun. Pop it in there. Your little wheel there. Put that on. And we're ready to go. We'll cut this one a little thicker, steeper angle. Now that didn't take much time, did it? And then I tend to take scissors and just trim this here a little bit around there, because it often just pushes it up there a little bit. Okay, so our next step is to sand this off. I'll go do that, and then we'll put our Velcro on. We'll have a completed project. Okay, the last thing that we have to do to this is put the Velcro on. And I've already sanded the waffle pattern off there. And you could probably stick your Velcro on just like that, but I haven't done that, and it just seems like, just feeling it, you know, the stickiness on the back of the Velcro wouldn't work that well. So I've always done this. I've made a little coating on here. The first one I did, I actually put some leatherette on there. So just take some, I'm going to use crazy glue, and put some of that on there, and then spread it out. Now, unfortunately, well, here's something I could use here. You use your finger on there, and then your fingers get stuck to your finger. So this is a backing off the Velcro, so I'll just spread that out, and it's just coated on there. And we'll leave that set to the side there to dry, or cure, or whatever it happens to it. Now the Velcro I'm using is this stuff here. It's for putting on drum sanders, so you can put Velcro sandpaper on there. It's kind of an industrial hook and loop, hook type thing. And and it's available from Stock Room Supply. Just go on the website for Stock Room Supply. And you can buy it in 12-inch. I buy the 12-inch one and just buy 1 foot. That's the most economical, because you make some, and you make some for your friends, and the goof and the hooks wore off, and you have lots of stock just to put it on, put a new one on. I've been making them for friends and stuff, so I don't have much left here. You can mark that out with a pencil, whatever, and then cut it out with the scissors. But I've made this punch out of a piece of pipe here, and I'll just punch it out. I also get the Velcro sandpaper from them and punch my own discs out too. So anyway, we'll just set this on an end grain piece of wood. And since my big old hammer is here, you don't need such a big one. You just bang that on there. And there's my disc, all nice and round to the size that I want there. So I think this is getting pretty close to putting it on, ready to put it on. But I will mention here, and I haven't done this because I was looking in some of my stuff and I found some stick-on stuff that you can just get from the fabric store. You can get it in 2-inch stick-on, and it's probably would work fairly well. So I'm going to try one like that to see if it's, now what did I do with my punch here? Okay, here it is. Okay. So I'll just punch that out while I'm waiting that to dry. This isn't quite exactly 2-inch, this particular one. Well, it may be pretty good. That's pretty tough stuff. So there's one from the fabric store. So you might want to try that and save a lot of shipping and expense. I think that 12-inch piece was about $12 Canadian, and you could get quite a few out of there. But and this stuff here, I think costs around $2.50 a meter. So you could get 18 or so of them out of that. But cost might be about the same, but then you save on shipping. So let's see if our little thing is still a little sticky. You could blow on it, but anyway, we'll try it with a little bit of sticky. This stuff has got real good sticky stuff on the back, so it might hold without the crazy glue, but and then just kind of have to line it up, and you might goof the first time, so you can set it over a little bit. And then I just squeeze it on with your hands there. And if you use this for one particular grit, and so you don't have to keep taking them off, you just take them off when they wear out, they'll stick on much better all along, and they won't accidentally flip off, which I've had them do after you've tried to stick them on and off a few times. So I've got a few here, and I still have my original one here with the metal on. Plus I got all these wood ones too that I made originally there. So anyway, still the wood ones were basically free, but making these, it was still less than $1, you know, for the hardware. I think most people can afford that better than paying $30, $40 for a good one, which I did. The next thing that I'm going to do, as far as a video, before I close this one out, is a friend of mine that's a professional turner. He doesn't use the power drill. He just uses, I guess he called it an active sander, where it just rotates right on your work as you're doing it. And I made this one up years ago, and it wasn't that successful because I didn't have a bearing in it. But after talking to him, I got some little bearings there and put that in there. And then these things here just slide it, fit into there, and away you go. So you might want to go that route with these little discs here. And I've made up this thing here, which I'll probably show you too in the next video. And the idea was to make one that would go inside a hollow turning, and because it's hard to get in with a hollow turning, that's why it's got a long handle on here. And then I made this smaller. So yeah, stay tuned, and maybe next video or so I'll have how to make these things and that. So anyway, thanks for watching, and you can either make the wood ones for free, or you can try making some of these for $1. It's up to you, but they both work fantastic. So we'll see you next time. Well, here I am back for another great idea. It didn't take very long, but I was looking at that stuff I got from that came from a fabric store, and I tried it, and it seems quite good. So it might be a place to get it. It's just super sticky, super sticky. In fact, it's so sticky that I think I can put it right on. It gets stuck to my finger here. I can't even get it off. So that's without the crazy glue on there. and it seems to be stuck on there super good. So anyway, and here's a disc from the sandpaper that I cut out, and it sticks on there really well to that. So I think in the future here, I probably would recommend just the fabric store. So give that a try, and if it doesn't work out good for you, get some industrial stuff from one of the sanding places or stockroom supply. So we'll see you again. Another great idea coming up pretty quick.